Chapter 1028, Undermining the Foundation 3. Before the two Yunshao sect elders could speak, the Yu's martial force shot skywards and seemed to disperse the clouds in the sky. These forces belonging to half-step Yin-Yang, perfected lords, spilled forth together like a flood and gathered together like a rushing river. The shocking martial force caused everyone to shudder. The two Yunshao sect elders were shocked when they sensed the force of several other half-step Yin-Yang perfected lords. They had not expected the Yi family to have as many as 4 or 5 half-step Yin-Yang perfected lords. Just as Elder Yin and Elder Gu were in shock. What's the matter? You think highly of those half-step Yin-Yang perfected lords, but are disdainful of us. Since when has the Yunshao sect become so greedy? The remaining 100-plus Yi family disciples immediately spoke up. Brothers and sisters, let us show these two lofty Yunshao sect elders if we are worthy to enter their Yunshao sect to cultivate. One of the slightly older Yi family disciples glanced at everyone and spoke. My thoughts exactly. Haha, I resent being looked down on by the Yunshao sect. It is merely the Yunshao sect, but it has become so greedy that it dares to come to our Yi house and make trouble. Let's show them whether we Yi family disciples are worthy of being noticed by the Yunshao sect. As they spoke, over 100 martial forces were simultaneously produced by the 100 Yi family disciples. Like a formless gust of air, it swept the area within a radius of 10 miles. Among the 100 over martial forces, the weakest of them had already entered the realm of martial chi level 3, while the strongest was one step away from transforming into a Yin-Yang perfected lord. This force seemed to fill the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the mountains. Even every corner of the world seemed to be permeated with it. It was like the raging of ocean waves, or like the tremors of a mountain quaking, like the heavens being rent, or like the earth collapsing. The integration of 100-plus martial forces was terrifying, especially the explosion that followed its coalition, which extended for a radius of 10 miles. At the same time, everyone from the Si family and the 3 branches of the Yi family also sensed it. The master of the Si family did not know what had happened in the Yi house. However, he unhesitatingly led the powerful cultivators in his family straight to the Yi house. The 3 branches of the Yi family and the 3 powerful Yin-Yang perfected lords led the senior members and talented Yus of the branches and also hurried to the Yi family headquarters in unison. At that moment, in the Yi family's headquarters, the 2 Yunshao sect elders who, in the midst of these waves of forces, were like lone boats adrift on a raging sea. What's going on? Yi Ling and second elder rapidly sensed this frightening force and appeared at the same time, bewildered. They thought that the talented disciples had been sparring and making mischief, and that they had caused trouble. However, when they arrived, things did not seem to be what they had imagined. Greetings, master and elders. When they saw that Yi Ling and a few elders had appeared, the Yi family disciples in the courtyard withdrew their martial force and spoke respectfully. Who are they? The great elder asked when he looked at the 2 Yunshao sect elders and saw that they were strangers. Great elder, these 2 are Yunshao sect elders. Yi Ling laughed. What? Yunshao sect? Chapter 1029. So what if it's Yunshao sect 1? When they heard that, the expressions of the great elder, second elder, third elder, and even the master, Yi Ling, all changed. As a super sect, the intimidating reputation of the Yunshao sect was deeply rooted in the elders and Yi Ling. When they heard that 2 Yunshao sect elders had come to Yi house, they were stunned, and that was why their expressions changed. Yunshao sect. Why? Why have they come to the Yi house? Third elder was slightly pale, and cold sweat seeped from his brow. The great elder frowned slightly and thought for a moment before he looked at the third elder and said, Third elder, what do you think of the Yunshao sect? The third elder was taken aback by these words. Great elder, the Yunshao sect is a super sect and super sects. The third elder had not yet completed his sentence when he suddenly snapped out of his trance. The fear on his face slowly faded, and he also frowned. That's right. So what if it's a Yunshao sect? Master, what do you think of the Yunshao sect? The third elder stared at Yiling. What about the Yunxiao sect? Yiling was lost. Master, elders, the Yunxiao sect is nothing. The third elder's expression changed, and he regained his composure. Their Yi family currently held high status. If even the weakest of their talented young disciples went forward, they would compare favorably with the top supernaturally talented disciples in the Yunxiao sect. Besides this mainland's peerless school, Biming Manor, and Phantom Valley, which were supremely powerful, no other super sect's power could compare with that of the Yi family, be it in the Nine Knights dynasty or the formidable Heavens dynasty. That's right, the Yunxiao sect is nothing. Second elder nodded rapidly. When he heard that the Yunxiao sect elders had arrived, the second elder had reverted to his old ways of thinking that the Yunxiao sect was a huge entity. If the Yunxiao sect wanted to, they could exterminate a small family clan like theirs on a whim. However, the second elder and the others have forgotten that the Yi family of the present could not be compared to the Yi family of the past. In the past, if the Yunxiao sect elders had made a personal appearance, everyone from the Yi family would naturally show profound respect and humility. However, that was the past, not the present. The present Yi family was not the Yi family of the past. Yunxiao sect. The great elder frowned slightly. What about the Yunxiao sect? Is our Yi house a place where anyone can just go in and out casually? If they wish to enter our Yi house, even the sect master must announce his intentions in advance and wait for our approval, much less the elders. Great elder, you may not be aware that these two Yunxiao sect elders are not here to visit the Yi house. One of the Yi family disciples, Yilong, suddenly spoke up. When they heard that, the great elder, the third elder, and the others were slightly taken aback. If they were not here on a visit, then why were they here? Great elder, these two Yunxiao sect elders are unbearably arrogant. They have come to the Yi house to capture eldest young lady. They have also been talking wildly about exterminating our Yi family. Yilong looked at Yiling and the elders and added fuel to the fire. What did you say? The second elder was immediately enraged. Every word that I have said is true. Isn't that right? Yilong immediately looked at Yi Yifan, who had changed his surname to Yi. That's right. Elder brother Yilong is speaking the truth. Yi Yifan nodded repeatedly and corroborated Yilong's words. Yifan, is what you are saying true? The great elder looked at Yi Yifan. Grandfather, it is all true. The 100+ brothers and sisters present also heard them clearly. Every word is true. Yi Yifan's face was filled with certainty. Chapter 10:30. So what if it's Yunxiao sect too? Impudent. The second elder looked at Elder Gu and Elder Een and roared furiously. You're merely Yunxiao sect elders, yet you're so arrogant in my Yi family. With just you, two good-for-nothings, how dare you all think of capturing the eldest young lady in my Yi family? Elder Een and Elder Gu were taken aback. A while ago, they clearly noticed that these senior members of the Yi family appeared fearful after learning of their identities. But that fear was crushed in an instant. Not only were the senior members not fearful, but they were even disrespectful. Elder Gu and Elder Een gritted their teeth and glared at Yi family members. Never had they thought that there would be a day where they would be humiliated by cultivators at the ordinary martial realm. How dare they proclaim that they, half-step Yin-Yang perfected lords, are good-for-nothings? Yiling's expression changed drastically in an instant. Looking at those two Yunxiao sect elders, his eyes twinkled coldly. How audacious of you two! How dare mere two half-step Yin-Yang perfected lords barge into my Yi family to capture my daughter? Not mentioning two Yunxiao sect elders. Even if your Yunxiao sect master brings all the powerful figures over here, my Yi family will ensure that all of you will not be able to return. 2 days ago, Yi Ling and Yi Qingtang had a long talk, and he learned of the enmity between her and Yunxiao sect. Their Yi family had yet to find time to stir troubles for Yunxiao sect, but Yunxiao sect delivered themselves to the Yi family on their own accord. Humph! A mere Yunxiao sect truly doesn't know fear. Since you two are already here at my Yi residence today, just stay then. Don't go anywhere else. The great elder shouted coldly. At this instant, the two Yunshao sect elders were surprised and even in disbelief. Before they headed to Lin Town, they already knew about the rough situation of the Yi family. The Yi family was only a small family clan of the remote Lin Town, and a family clan like the Yi family was unworthy of even clinging on to the threshold of Yunshao sect. Yet, who could have thought that the Yi family would change so drastically in just half a month? Leaving aside the hundreds of frighteningly talented young disciples in the Yi family, what the Yunshao sect elders could not comprehend was the useless clan master and elders of the Yi family. These people clearly knew that they were Yunshao sect elders, yet still dared to speak so wildly and say such things. No matter how slow the two Yunshao sect elders were, they now realized that something was wrong with the Yi family. However, Elder Yin and Elder Gu did not dare to act rashly. The hundreds of Yi family disciples were pretty skilled, and if they fought them, they were afraid that the two of them would be defeated by these members of the younger generation of the Yi family. Then, Clan Master Si brought a few yin-yang perfected lords of the Si family into the Yi residence. What happened? Clan Master Si noticed that the atmosphere of the Yi family was a little off and asked immediately. Powerful oppressive forces were emitted from the Yi residence previously, and Clan Master Si thought that something happened. It turned out that it was indeed so after entering the Yi residence. The third elder recounted the situation to the Si family members immediately. After listening to what the third elder said, Clan Master Si sized up Elder Yin and Elder Gu and scoffed. Although Yunshao sect was a super sect and a mighty force in the formidable Heavens dynasty, it could not even be compared to the Si family currently, and yet was still so arrogant. They were just two elders, and they dared to come to the Yi family to arrest Tang Tang. Chapter 1031. So what if it's Yunshao sect 3? Who exactly gave them this courage? What laughingstock? At this instant, the yin-yang perfected Lord branch masters of the other three branches rushed over to the headquarters along with their respective senior members and talented disciples. In no time, the Yi family field was filled with people, and all of them were powerful figures. Haha, Yunshao sect is truly a good example for the super sections. If the Nine Knights dynasty and formidable Heavens dynasty were as bold as the Yunshao sect, it would really be worthwhile. A branch master scorned as he stared at Elder Yin and Elder Gu. The two Yunshao sect elders had the skills of a half-step yin-yang perfected lord and came to the current Yi residence just by themselves, wanting to catch the Yi family's eldest young lady who was a yang lord. Was the entire Yunshao sect a group of idiots? At this moment, Elder Yin and Elder Gu were struck with astonishment. Regardless of the Yi family or Si family, numerous yin-yang perfected lords actually appeared in both families. The two Yunshao sect elders even knew the names of some of the yin-yang perfected lords. These people were not even supposed to appear in Lin Town, yet for some reason, they were all gathered in this remote town. How can this be? Yin-yang perfected lord. You all. This, feeling the powerful skills of several yin-yang perfected lords, Elder Gu trembled slightly. Their Yunshao sect merely had two yin-yang perfected lords. One of them was the Grand Elder, who did not participate in the affairs of the external world, while the other was the sect master. Yet right before their eyes, there were actually numerous yin-yang perfected lords in the Yi family. In terms of the number of yin-yang perfected lords, the Yi family actually had much more than Yunshao sect. Do Yunshao sect and eldest young lady have enmity? Suddenly, Elder Bai Kuei and Elder Zijin walked over slowly with 10 youths behind them. Elder Bai Kuei and Elder Zijin were administering an assessment for the new young talents previously. About 200 people participated, but only these 10 people truly passed the assessment. Moreover, Elder Bai Kuei realized that the massacre bloodline energy was activated in the body of one of the youths, and it was extremely impressive. Once the assessment ended, Elder Bai Kuei and Elder Zijin wanted to bring these newly recruited disciples to Yi Qingtang and introduce that youth with the massacre bloodline to Yi Qingtang. Yet, they just returned to the Yi residence and was faced with this situation. Yunshao sect. The 10 youths behind Elder by Kuei and Elder Zijin had strange expressions. That Yunshao sect actually came to cause trouble to the Yi family. Were they tired of living? Half-step Yin-Yang perfected lords came to the Yi family to stir trouble and wanted to capture a Yang lord. They were truly exposing themselves to ridicule when such a matter was made known to others. By Kuei, formidable heavens dynasty. Grand Imperial Sire. Elder Gu was extremely startled after seeing Bai Kuei. Daoist Zijin. Elder Yin's expression changed greatly when his eyes landed on Daoist Zijin. Regardless of Bai Kuei or Daoist Zijin, both were renowned, powerful figures of this mainland. Especially Bai Kuei. Not only was he the Grand Imperial Sire of formidable Heavens Dynasty, his martial skills were almost the best, for he possessed a cultivation base of Yin-Yang perfected Lord Third Heaven. Chapter 1032. So what if it's Yunshao sect for? The 2 Yunshao sect elders were dumbfounded as they looked at Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin in disbelief. Why did the 2 renowned, powerful figures of this mainland suddenly appear in the Yi family? Even until then, Elder Gu and Elder Yin were still unaware of what exactly had happened in the Yi family, and everything that happened was already beyond their comprehension. How do you intend to settle these 2 people? Daoist Zijin looked at Bai Kuei and asked. Upon hearing that, Bai Kuei waved a hand. You should ask eldest young lady. The 2 Yin-Yang perfected lords of Yunshao sect came to the Yi residence to capture eldest young lady and offended the Yi family. I think there's no need to ask eldest young lady about these kinds of matters. Let's just put them to death, Daoist Zijin said. As they heard that Daoist Zijin wanted to execute the 2 of them, Elder Gus and Elder Yin's expression changed drastically. Even until then, Elder Gu and Elder Yin still did not know what happened exactly and why the situation developed to this stage. What do you think, Clan Master? Elder Zijin looked at Yi Ling and asked. Yi Ling pondered for a moment and subsequently said, These 2 Yunshao sect elders are audacious. Let's execute them as Elder Zijin had suggested. If it was in the past, Yi Ling would not even have dared to think about this. However, the current Yi family was worlds apart from before, and a mere Yunshao sect was nothing to them. Both Elder Yin and Elder Gu were completely dumbfounded. They simply could not understand the drastic change in the Yi family that seemed to happen in a night. Not only did the Yi family have plenty of insanely talented young disciples, but formidable Heavens Dynasty's Grand Imperial Sire, Bai Kuei, and Daoist Zijin even became elders as well. With just the skills of Elder Bai Kuei and Elder Yin, it was enough to contend against Yunshao sect. It was also to say that the current Yi family was simply no weaker than Yunshao sect. Apart from the foundation of the 2 parties, the quality of the Yi family disciples surpassed that of Yunshao sect by leaps and bounds, and the cultivation skills of Yunshao sect master might lose out to Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin as well. When Daoist Zijin waved his right arm, Elder Guy and Elder Yin turned into dust before everyone's eyes. As the great elder and second elder watched the 2 Yunshao sect elders disappear, their expressions changed. Even though the current Yi family was extremely powerful, the inherent mindset of the past still made them feel as though they were in a dream. Looking at the Yi family disciples, they were extremely calm, as though everything was deserved and right. After the 2 Yunshao sect elders died, Yi Qingtang finally appeared and came to the field. She did not even have the thought of showing herself to 2 mere Yunshao sect elders. Eldest young lady. Elder Bai Kuei greeted respectfully when he noticed Yi Qingtang. Greetings, eldest young lady. The branch masters and Yin-Yang perfected lord of the Sea family bowed hurriedly. The young talents present all looked towards Yi Qingtang in admiration. This is the Yang Lord. The batch of disciples that Elder Bai Kuei brought over looked at Yi Qingtang with eyes filled with surprise and disbelief. The lady before them was not much older than them, and simply seemed like the same age, yet she was already a Yang Lord of Yin-Yang perfected Lord Seventh Heaven. Chapter 1033 Return to the Sect. 1. Naturally, no one dared to voice their doubts. From today onward, The Yi family will wage war against Yunshao sect. I want Yunshao sect to cease to exist. Yi Qingtang declared. Yi Ling and the second elder were startled. Yi Qingtang actually planned to annihilate Yunshao sect. However, given the combat powers of a young lord, it was an easy feat to annihilate Yunshao sect. Although a sect like Yunshao sect had extremely powerful foundations, given Yi Qingtang's young lord combat power, it was not impossible to completely destroy Yunshao sect. Currently, the Yi family was already strong enough, and Xianling's sect came to mind. To completely wipe out Xianling's sect, which had a strong foundation, time was required. The pressing matter at the moment was to head to Xianling's sect and rescue it from Yunshao sect. Furthermore, it was time to settle the scores with Yunshao sect. After the trip to the Dragon Vein, Yi Qingtang's martial realm entered the young lord of the Yin-Yang perfected lord, and she could easily rescue Xianling's sect without using the power of her bloodline. However, it was not simple to annihilate Yunshao sect. Although Yunshao sect did not have any young lords, a sect's foundation was extremely powerful. For example, in the battle between Xianling's sect and Yunshao sect's skill surpassed that of Xianling's sect massively, but Xianling's sect could still inflict huge damage by relying on its heritage and foundation. Even an ordinary sect like Xianling's sect had such frightening foundation, much less Yunshao sect, a super sect. Eldest young lady, with those Yunshao sect senior members, there is nothing to be afraid of. It's just that we are unclear of Yunshao sect's foundation and heritage. Daoist Zijin looked at Yi Qingtang and said. Yi Qingtang was fully aware of this point without Daoist Zijin's reminder as well. Given the Yin-Yang perfected lord third heaven cultivation base of Daoist Zijin and Bai Kuei, they could defeat Yunshao sect's grand elder and sect master. However, once Yunshao sect used their foundation and went all out, the outcome would be uncertain. To completely destroy Yunshao sect, it was probably insufficient with just Bai Kuei, Daoist Zijin, and the new Yin-Yang perfected lords who joined the Yi family. Eldest young lady, I'm afraid you will also need to be present to annihilate Yunshao sect. Elder Bai Kuei looked at Yi Qingtang and said. Yi Qingtang nodded slightly. After discussing the details with Elder Bai Kuei and the rest, Yi Qingtang departed from Lin Town and flew towards Xianling sect. Currently, the little white tigers seemed to be growing. Thus, it was still in a deep sleep. As such, Yi Qingtang left it at the Yi family and did not bring it along with her. Given Yi Qingtang's current speed, she had already arrived at the periphery of Xianling sect in less than half a day. The sect, which was originally floating in the sky, however, landed on the ground, and the entire sect was enveloped by a faint golden screen. This screen was initially set up by the Blood Moon Holy Lord and could sustain for only half a year. Presently, this screen was no longer as strong as initially, and its light was increasingly dimming. Several Yunshao sect disciples guarded the surroundings of Xianling sect. Once the screen broke, they would notify the senior members of the sect immediately and wipe out Xianling sect without sparing anyone. Quickly look, that lady. Chapter 1034 Return to the Sect 2. One of the Yunshao sect disciples was a little surprised to see Yi Qingtang walking towards Xianling sect slowly. Why is that lady so familiar looking? Before long, another Yunshao sect disciple exclaimed in shock. Yi Qingtang. Although these Yunshao sect disciples had never seen Yi Qingtang face to face, they had seen her portrait before. That Yi Qingtang appeared in the hell of Avisnaraka, mystic realm, previously, and even obtained a fiend celestial beast. Quick, inform the higher-ups. A Yunshao sect disciple's eyes were burning with desire. Although Yi Qingtang is only an ordinary disciple of Xianling sect, she was enraged our Yunshao sect and was listed on the assassination roll. Hee, I never thought that my luck would be so good. A male in white stared at Yi Qingtang, and his lips curled into an icy snicker. Yi Qingtang's skull is indeed valuable. However, it said that Yi Qingtang obtained the fiend celestial beast in the hell of Avisnaraka, mystic realm. If we kill her and end up not being able to find the fiend celestial beast, Wouldn't the sect not forgive us? Another man spoke up. Humph, what about that? Let's just break Yi Qingtang's limbs and keep her alive on her last breath. Wait. A fiend celestial beast is very scary, and Yi Qingtang obtained it. No matter how weak Yi Qingtang's martial skills are, she still possesses the fiend celestial beast. Would we be able to block the attack of the fiend celestial beast? Hee. Were you afraid of that fiend celestial beast is merely an infant? That's right. How lethal can it be if it could be taken by a Xianling sect disciple? There's nothing to be fearful of. Then, the few of them immediately rushed towards Yi Qingtang without hesitation. Stop! The youth in the lead stared at Yi Qingtang and shouted coldly. Upon hearing that, Yi Qingtang stopped in her tracks slightly and looked at the men before her. You are Yi Qingtang. The man in the lead sneered. That's right. There were no emotions on Yi Qingtang's face. You're a lady, but I never thought that you would be so bold. The Yunxiao sect disciples snickered when the lady before them admitted her identity so simply. Back when Yi Qingtang was in Xianling sect, she was merely an ordinary inner sect disciple, but she formed a deep hatred with Yunxiao sect and was listed on the assassination roll. After such a long time, Yi Qingtang reappeared outside Xianling sect, and this was a great thing for the Yunxiao sect disciples. Yi Qingtang, if you are sensible, hand over that infant fiend celestial beast, and we can consider sparing your life. What do you think? One of the Yunxiao sect disciples looked at Yi Qingtang and sneered. However, before this Yunxiao sect disciple could continue speaking, Yi Qingtang raised her right arm a little, and the disciple died instantly without anyone seeing how Yi Qingtang did it. The remaining Yunxiao sect disciples were left dumbstruck and in disbelief. To these Yunxiao sect disciples, Yi Qingtang's attack was too quick, and they simply did not see how Yi Qingtang attacked. Without giving the people a chance to speak, Yi Qingtang slaughtered all the Yunxiao sect disciples in the surroundings in just the blink of an eye. These disciples were already at the peak of martial qi level 2 third heaven, and it was considered pretty good. Yet before Yi Qingtang, they were as frail as pieces of paper. Chapter 1035 Return to the Sect 3. After killing all the ignorant Yunxiao sect disciples, Yi Qingtang's eyes slowly landed on the defense barrier around Xianling sect. This barrier was implemented by her cheap little brother, the Blood Moon Holy Lord, whom she was extremely grateful for. Had he not appeared in the inn back then, even Yi Qingtang would be uncertain of how the situation would have progressed. What she could be certain of, though, was that Xianling sect definitely would not have persisted until today. In Xianling sect, there were Yi Qingtang's good friends such as Qin Huan and Yin Shu, her master, Elder Imo, as well as Elder Qin, who treated her rather well. However, it was a pity that the Grand Elder was no longer here today. Yi Qingtang did not have any hatred toward the Grand Elder. From a certain aspect, the Grand Elder was even more authentic and human. In Xianling sect, Qin Huan, Yin Shu, and others were gathered in a corner. It had been several months since they had been trapped in Xianling sect. The blood-colored screen above Xianling sect gradually dimmed and was staunchly different from its initial state. Moreover, the masses trapped in Xianling sect were almost running out of supplies. The Xianling sect disciples and senior executives had been taking their food and drinks from within Xianling sect, and all of the stockpiles were stored previously. However, these supplies were almost depleted after nearly half a year, and there were barely any water sources remaining. Currently, the disciples in Xianling sect did not even have water to clean themselves with, much less have food to fill their stomachs. About a month ago, a few Xianling sect disciples took the risk and left the barrier formation, wanting to avoid the Yunxiao sect disciples in search for water. However, they were discovered eventually and died in the hands of the Yunxiao sect disciples. As sect disciples, they could bear with not having water to wash up. However, not consuming food over a long time was not what they could withstand given their martial cultivation realm. Compared to the Xianling sect disciples, the elders and senior executives were naturally much more powerful in terms of martial cultivation, and thus, their need for food was much smaller. Although the elders and senior executives had already taken out their own food and distributed to the disciples, it was still unable to solve this critical situation. Many Xianling sect disciples were nearing the borders of insanity due to the lack of water and food. Yet despite so, no one dared to leave the defense barrier ever, since those Xianling sect disciples who left it were tragically killed by the Yunxiao sect people. Qin Huan looked at the pale Yun Shu beside him and sighed. I wonder how Junior Sister Yi is doing. At the mention of Yi Qingtang, Yun Shu and Lin Long opened their eyes instantly. The few of them missed Yi Qingtang dearly, but they were trapped within Xianling sect for almost half a year and simply could not get any information from the outside world. Junior Sister Yi will definitely be fine, Lin Long said. Qin Huan shook his head. That may not be so. I heard that Junior Sister Yi was listed onto the assassination roll by Yunxiao sect. It said that the reward surpassed the total rewards for killing the first and third person on the list. Qin Huan, can't you wish some good for Junior Sister Yi? Gu Yanxiu rolled his eyes at Qin Huan and said helplessly, Nonsense. Of course, I wish for Junior Sister Yi to be safe and sound, but what I said is the truth. Junior Sister Yi treated Yunxiao sect that way previously and caused Yunxiao sect to lose face. In addition to such tempting rewards, I'm afraid Junior Sister Yi is having a hard time. Chapter 1036. Pray. The few of them were extremely worried about Yi Qingtang as well. The war between Xianling sect and Yunxiao sect was extremely horrific. Although the Blood Moon sect appeared afterward, the ultimate elder suddenly showed up too, thus causing Xianling sect to be in this state. However, if Yi Qingtang did not appear as the Blood Moon Holy Lady, Xianling sect would probably have been annihilated by Yunxiao sect already. Don't worry. Junior Sister Yi is a dignified Blood Moon Holy Lady. Blood Moon sect is such a strong force. How can anything happen to Junior Sister Yi? Yun Shu said, although the Blood Moon sect is powerful, it is the enemy of this entire mainland. It is an evil cult. Qin Huan said hurriedly. Upon hearing that, some miserable-looking Xianling sect disciples fixed their eyes on Qin Huan successively. If there was no Yi Qingtang, or evil cult as mentioned by Qin Huan, they would have already become corpses a long time ago, and not talking as they were right now. Without the Blood Moon sect, we would have been dead already, Lin Long said. Qin Huan nodded without retort. His eyes landed on a tomb forest, not far away, as an inexplicable sorrow emerged on his face. In this half-year, the disciples who once fought for Xianling sect sustained heavy injuries and were unable to be treated by the outside world, eventually passing on. In the past, these brothers and sisters were not afraid of strong enemies, but in the end, they were unable to persist and could no longer see the rays of hope. Other than the Xianling sect disciples, there were several wardens and senior executives who were severely injured as well. In addition to this was the poor environment conditions which resulted in damage to their martial foundation, causing their martial skills to dip extensively. Unable to resolve this mental distress, they eventually fell into depression and died. At this instant, Elder Mo and Elder Qin arrived in the vicinity of the martial arts hall. Looking at the Xianling sect disciples who were lying on the ground and seated everywhere, they could not help but sigh. The sight of this dilapidated Xianling sect led them to recall the prosperity of the past. Greetings, sect master and two elders. Seeing that the sect master and the elders arrived at the martial arts hall, the Xianling sect disciples hurriedly stood up and bowed at them. Noticing the situation, the Xianling sect master hurriedly waved his hands. There's no need to bow. Quickly rest. Don't waste your energy. Looking at the scrawny and listless Xianling sect disciples, and then recalling memories of them in the past, the sect master was in anguish. It was as though there were billions of needles poking at his heart. A long while later, Elder Qin and Elder Mo followed the Xianling sect master to a tomb forest ahead. There were hundreds of tombs in the forest. The bodies of a portion of them no longer existed since the war. Thus, the sect could only build a tomb containing the personal effects of the deceased to mourn those valiant Xianling sect disciples who died in the battle. At the same time, Qin Huan, Yin Shu, and many other disciples followed the sect master to the tomb forest. "Brothers, we are here to visit you." Many Xianling sect disciples immediately kneeled and bowed before the tombs. Looking at these nameless tombs, it was as though they returned to the night before the Great War. Everyone drank and chatted together and learned from each other before the bonfire. It was as if those voices and faces never left. The battle cry seemed to ring in their ears again at this very moment. "We use our blood to soak Zuenling's flag. We use our hearts to light Zuenling's anger. We use our hands to hit Zuenling's drums." Chapter 1037 Sect Protector Divine Beast. The battle cries still seemed to echo in their ears. Those long-gone faces and familiar bodies were imprinted in the minds of the masses eternally and would never be erased. Sometime later, the Xianling sect master slowly kneeled beside the countless graves. Noticing the situation, Elder Imo, Elder Qin, and the Xianling sect disciples fell on their knees successively and bowed to those heroes who protected the sect with their lives. "Junior Brother Zhou." A shout erupted suddenly. Everyone quickly turned around and looked behind. A young man who was all stick and bones completely fainted when he bowed. Noticing the situation, Elder Qin rushed forward hurriedly and held up that young man who was void of color. After inspecting for a moment, he sighed softly. This young Xianling sect disciple was yet another victim of the lack of food supplied. He had not consumed anything for too long, and his martial realm was insufficient from the start, which caused him to faint from hunger. The current Xianling sect was already depleted of all supplies, and the river was all dried up. There no longer was any consumables in the sect. A cultivator and ordinary human was different in that a cultivator's need for food would gradually decrease as their martial realm improved. However, these sect disciples had not reached that stage yet. Moreover, the body would not be replenished if it did not consume anything for a long time, and this would also pose as a life danger over the long run. I remember, the sect still has a few spirit animals. A long time later, Xianling sect master looked at Elder Qin and said. Elder Qin and Elder Imo nodded instinctively. There were indeed a few old spirit animals remaining in the sect. They had rendered their highest service in battles for the sect and were fed and taken care of for the rest of their lifetimes by the sect after they aged. "Don't worry, sect master. The spirit animals can barely absorb the spirit energy in the surroundings and don't need to consume anything at the moment," said Elder Imo, as he thought the sect master was afraid that the spirit animals would die from hunger. However, resolution filled the sect master's eyes as he said, "Kill them." "What?" The two elders and everyone else at the scene were taken aback by what the Xianling sect master had said. "Distribute the flesh and blood of the spirit animals to our sect disciples, as long as they can hold out an additional day." Xianling sect master seemed to age by dozens of years in an instant. But, sect master, for the sect, those spirit animals once. Elder Qin's body trembled slightly. One of the spirit animals had been in Xianling sect for a longer time than he did, and was even older than him. "Elder Qin, I understand what you wish to say." Xianling sect master nodded. At this moment, the middle-aged man seemed like an elderly who was about to pass on, and his voice quivered. "But these kids are all about to die from hunger. Is there any other solution?" Xianling sect master uttered. Indeed, if there was still no food, how much longer could these sect disciples withhold? Was it 1 day or 1 month? Even if he were to become a sinner of Xianling sect, the Xianling sect master could not bear for these disciples to end up dying from hunger or thirst. As a cultivator, they could die from battles, but how could they die from hunger? At this moment, the disciples were dead silent as well. They did not know what to say, and even if they wanted to, they were almost out of energy. However, before Xianling sect master could continue to say something, a terrifying roar sounded from outside the sect. An enormous creature hovered above Xianling sect completely. Above that enormous creatures were a number of Yunshao sect elders and senior executives. Yunshao sect. Sect Protector Divine Beast. Chapter 1038, It's You 1. Everyone was startled and even in disbelief when they saw the giant creature outside Xianling sect. After the Yunshao sect Protector Divine Beast was injured by the Blood Moon Holy Lord, it was sent back to Yunshao sect to recuperate. Unexpectedly, it was actually this powerful now. The past Yunshao sect Protector Divine Beast and the current one were simply worlds apart. Once spirit animals like these advanced in level, their skills would increase massively. The Yunshao sect Protector Divine Beast actually advanced in level. Surprise etched across Elder Mo's face as he looked at the giant creature shrouding over the entire sect. Back then, the Yunshao sect Protector Divine Beast was only an equivalent of a human half-step yin-yang perfected lord. But after the advancement, its combat power paralleled that of a human yin-yang perfected Lord Second Heaven. Boom! Deafening rumbles followed with every movement the sect Protector Divine Beast took. The already dim red screen above Xianling sect became even fainter and was completely broken after a few hits. The energy of that defense barrier was already mostly exhausted from the start. Now that the advanced Yunshao sect Protector Beast arrived and attacked the defense barrier with the combat power of Yin-Yang Perfected Lord, it was reasonable that the barrier broke. Previously, after Yunshao sect learned that Yi Qingtang appeared nearby Xianling sect, the sect elders immediately rushed over with the sect Protector Divine Beast, which just advanced not long ago. However, after arriving at Xianling sect, they realized that the Yunshao sect disciples guarding in the area were all dead, and Yi Qingtang was nowhere to be found. Enraged, the Yunshao sect elders decided to destroy Xianling sect completely first and believed that Yi Qingtang would not be able to continue hiding. However, just as the defense barrier was broken, a shadow suddenly appeared in the sky at lightning speed. In just a few breaths' time, it had already reached the Yunshao sect Protector Divine Beast and blocked it. The Xianling sect members were surprised, especially Elder Mo, who thought that the figure was very familiar after close inspection. That is, Junior Sister Yi. Yinshu looked at the lady in the air who blocked the Yunshao sect Protector Beast, and his expression changed immediately. Hearing Yinshu, everyone took a closer look at the lady and was startled. It was indeed as Yinshu had said. Who else could that lady be if it was not Yi Qingtang? Qingtang. Very quickly, Elder Mo stared at the lady in the sky and uttered in surprise. Wasn't that lady his disciple, Yi Qingtang? The Xianling sect members were all dumbfounded for a moment. Why did Yi Qingtang suddenly appear here? Roar! The Yunshao sect Protector Divine Beast glared at the miniature ant-like human who stood in its way and roared in fury. Yi Qingtang! The Yunshao sect elders on the back of the sect Protector Divine Beast stared at Yi Qingtang, and a trace of elation emerged in their eyes. It seems that the information was true. Yi Qingtang had indeed returned to Xianling sect. Everyone was already aware that Yi Qingtang obtained a fiend celestial beast in the hell of a Visinaraka mystic realm, and her appearance meant that the infant fiend celestial beast was also in the vicinity. If their Yunshao sect could obtain that fiend celestial beast and offer it to the Beiming Manor, wouldn't their Yunshao sect? Chapter 1039, It's You too. Yi Qingtang, it's indeed you. A Yunshao sect elder looked at Yi Qingtang and scoffed. Yi Qingtang did not react to him and merely unsheathed a sword from her waist. Ha ha! Seeing that Yi Qingtang drew a sword out, the few Yunshao sect elders on the back of the sect Protector Divine Beast immediately burst out in laughter. Could it be that this Yi Qingtang still wanted to put up a last fight with them? Swoosh! Nonetheless, before the Yunshao sect elders finished laughing, the smiles were completely frozen on their faces as disbelief and horror filled their eyes. As Yi Qingtang waved her sword, the frightening aura of a young lord surged into the sky, and the sword aura completely enveloped the Yunshao sect Protector Divine Beast. Sensing this unbelievable aura, Even the Yunshao sect protector divine beast trembled. Boom boom! A loud roar erupted in the next second. Before the shocked Xianling sect masses, the enormous body of the sect protector divine beast instantly erupted into mists of blood, and the several Yunshao sect elders died along with it at the scene. After slaughtering the Yunshao sect protector divine beast and Yunshao sect elders with one slash, Yi Qingtang immediately turned around and landed in Xianling's sect. At this instant, Xianling's sect was enshrouded in the supreme energy of a young lord, and those disciples with weak pulses and even those who fainted from hunger were immediately energized. Junior Sister Yi? Qin Huan and the rest were stunned when they saw Yi Qingtang descending from the sky. Was this lady who was brimming with a young lord energy really Yi Qingtang? It had been less than half a year since they were separated from Yi Qingtang, and she had already become one of the few powerful young lords of this mainland in this period of time. Qingtang. Similarly, Elder Mo found this hard to swallow. No matter what, Elder Mo could not believe that Yi Qingtang had actually grown this much in less than half a year. Master, it's been long. I'm late. Yi Qingtang looked at Elder Mo and bowed with cupped fists. Back then in Xianling's sect, she took Elder Mo as her master, and he treated her pretty well. Naturally, Yi Qingtang would not forget him. A whole 10 minutes later, Elder Mo finally returned to his senses and nodded rather absent-mindedly. Are you really Yi Qingtang? Elder Qin was clearly shaken as he looked at the lady before him. A young lord was someone whose martial cultivation base was at least at Yin Yang perfected Lord's seventh heaven, an absolutely unrivaled figure on this mainland. Not mentioning a young lord, it would also be unbelievable for Elder Qin even if Yi Qingtang showed up as Yin Lord. It's me. Yi Qingtang nodded in agreement. Shit. Qin Huan walked to Yi Qingtang's side and inspected Yi Qingtang closely. How can this be? Junior Sister Yi, you're actually? Could it be that I'm hallucinating because I'm too hungry? Yi Qingtang was speechless. However, it was not strange for Qin Huan to say such things given his personality. Senior brother Qin, it really is me, affirmed Yi Qingtang. But, young lord, this is... Qin Huan and the rest found it hard to believe at the moment. However, Yi Qingtang did not wish to discuss this matter too much, as it was not something that could be explained clearly in a few sentences after all. Seeing that Yi Qingtang was unwilling to talk about it, everyone understood what to do and no longer mentioned it. Yi Qingtang immediately retrieved plenty of food and water from her space ring and told Qin Huan and the rest to distribute them. Chapter 1040. It's you. 3. There were not many Xianling sect disciples remaining currently. Although the water and food Yi Qingtang brought from the Yi family was not considered a lot, it was still sufficient to solve the crisis. Long before she headed to Xianling's sect, she had already realized this issue. Thus, she prepared some supplies in a separate space ring. After all, the past Yi Qingtang was also a Xianling sect disciple, and she had some understanding of Xianling sect. It had been almost half a year since Xianling sect was trapped by Yunshao sect, and the stored supplies in the sect were probably already depleted. Elder Mo had complicated feelings as he looked at Yi Qingtang. He would never have thought that his disciple actually became a supreme young lord of this mainland in less than 6 months. Even if he told others this, probably no one would believe that he was the master of a young lord. Xianling sect master was extremely startled to see Yi Qingtang. Even a strong force like Yunshao sect was as weak as an ant before a young lord. Yi Qingtang sighed softly as she looked at the current dilapidated Xianling sect. Apart from food and water, she also took out numerous elixirs from her space ring to distribute out to everyone. These elixirs could temper the body and be extremely beneficial even to an ordinary yin-yang perfected lord. If cultivators at the martial qi stage consumed it, the effects would be multiplied. After consuming the supplies that Yi Qingtang brought, their complexion was way better than before, and after consuming her elixirs, they were full of vigor in at most an hour. It's truly a magic pill. My body did not have any energy before, but now, even if a fierce tiger came, I feel that I can kill it with one punch, Qin Huan commented excitedly. Master, sect master, let the disciples recuperate first. Then rebuild Xianling sect later on, Yi Qingtang said after a long time. Xianling's sect master nodded. This was what he hoped for the most. Even in his dreams, he wished to rebuild Xianling's sect. Qingtang, can you prevent Yunshao sect from attacking Xianling's sect during Xianling's sect reconstruction? Xianling's sect master looked at Yi Qingtang and asked in an almost pleading tone. Yi Qingtang was currently a young lord, and as long as she was willing, Xianling's sect could be rebuilt easily, and only Yi Qingtang was able to stop Yunshao's sect. Read latest chapters at Wuxiao World. Site only. What are you saying, sect master? A Xianling sect disciple for a day is a Xianling sect disciple for life, Yi Qingtang said. The Xianling sect master was a little agitated after hearing Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang immediately took out some items which she obtained from the mystic realm and handed them all to the sect master. Apart from the numerous weapons and elixirs, there were also talismans that could help with the reconstruction of Xianling's sect. Master, sect master, don't worry about Yunshao's sect. Now that I'm back, I will definitely destroy and obliterate all traces of Yunshao's sect. Yi Qingtang looked at Elder Mo and Xianling's sect master and said, All right. Elder Mo nodded. His disciple was now a young lord, and annihilating Yunshao's sect could be easily done. Qingtang, Xianling's sect is fortunate to have you. Xianling's sect master looked at Yi Qingtang and said. Chapter 1041 Who is afraid of who? 1. If not for Yi Qingtang, Xianling's sect would probably already have been annihilated by Yunshao's sect half a year ago. Yi Qingtang did not reply. Her eyes were devoid of warmth as she looked at the countless tombs in the surroundings. She would personally take revenge for these disciples who died tragically. Yi Qingtang left after staying in Xianling's sect for a day, and she was at the Imperial City the next time she appeared. Yunshao's sect was located within the Imperial City of Formidable Heavens Dynasty. Eldest young lady, Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin greeted Yi Qingtang with reverence outside the Imperial City. All the senior members of the Yi family were dispatched in this operation. The 7 Yin-Yang perfected lords, including Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin, as well as the disciples, were all present. Yi Qingtang had made up her mind to destroy Yunshao's sect completely this time, no matter what it took, all right. Yi Qingtang swept her eyes across the army of people. Excluding herself, this force of the Yi family was sufficient to overpower Yunshao's sect substantially. Currently, Yunshao's sect had not warred against the Yi family, but already had heavy losses. 5 elders were killed by Yi Qingtang, and even Yunshao's sect's most important combat force, the sect protector divine beast, was also slain by Yi Qingtang. Eldest young lady, do you still need to make any preparations? Dao Zijin looked at Yi Qingtang and asked. No, said Yi Qingtang. Emir Yunshao's sect did not have any qualifications to make her prepare anything. Although Yunshao's sect's foundation was strong, it posed no threat to a young lord no matter how strong it was. Moreover, Yi Qingtang would not give Yunshao's sect any time or chance to activate their foundation. At this instant, a group of guards at the Imperial City saw Yi Qingtang and the rest and originally wanted to stop them. However, after seeing Bai Kuei, all of them were dumbfounded and no longer had any intention to stop them. Visit website, our list novel. Bai Kuei was Formidable Heavens Dynasty's Grand Imperial Sire and an Yin-Yang perfected Lord Third Heaven figure. Once the guards returned to their senses and wanted to greet the Grand Imperial Sire, they realized that the troop of people had already entered the Imperial City and were nowhere to be seen. About 15 minutes later, Elder Bai Kuei led Yi Qingtang to the periphery of the Imperial City. Right ahead was Yunshao's sect. Although a super sect like Yunshao's sect had nothing to do with the Formidable Heavens Dynasty, it was situated within the Imperial City, and thus, Elder Bai Kuei knew something about it. Although Yunshao's sect's foundation is powerful, it is nothing to you, eldest young lady. However, it said that one of their sect protector divine beasts seemed to have advanced recently, and its combat power is rather high, Elder Bai Kuei said. I have already killed that sect protector divine beast, said Yi Qingtang. Elder Bai Kuei nodded and was not surprised at all. No matter how powerful that Yunxiao sect protector divine beast was, it was as weak as a piece of paper before a young lord and could be easily killed without much effort. A cold glint flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes as she looked at Yunxiao's sect ahead. Swoosh! Numerous Yi family war flags flew in the air. Kill! Daoist Zijin shouted sternly. Along with Daoist Zijin's orders, countless powerful auras surged to the sky and instantly enveloped Yunxiao sect in them. Chapter 1042, Who is Afraid of Who? 2. Sensing the aura of the Yi family powerful figures, the senior members and wardens of Yunxiao sect were alarmed. Who is so daring to behave unmannerly at my Yunxiao sect? A warden instantly flew out of Yunxiao's sect and yelled sternly. This Yunxiao sect warden's eyes were ice cold. He had been at Yunxiao sect for a long time and never once thought that there would be anyone who dared to act wildly at the doorsteps of Yunxiao sect. The Yunxiao sect warden was startled when he saw the Yi family war flags. This war flag appeared very foreign, and he did not know which force these people were from. Who are you all? Report your names. How dare you all behave so wildly at the doorsteps of my Yunxiao sect? The Yunxiao sect warden looked at Yi Qingtang and the rest and shouted sternly. Bai Kuei. Elder Bai Kuei stepped forward and said coldly. Upon hearing that, the Yunxiao sect warden frowned slightly. When he saw Bai Kuei's face clearly, he was taken aback and extremely astounded. As a Yunxiao sect warden, it was impossible for him to not know the formidable Heavens Dynasty's Grand Imperial Sire, the most powerful cultivator of formidable Heavens Dynasty, with a horrifying combat power of Yin Yang perfected Lord Third Heaven. Formidable Heavens Dynasty, Grand Imperial Sire. Very quickly, the Yunxiao sect warden frowned as he looked at Elder Bai Kuei. Grand Imperial Sire Bai Kuei, what is the meaning of this? Although Bai Kuei was the Grand Imperial Sire of formidable Heavens Dynasty, he never had any enmity with Yunxiao sect. Not mentioning this Grand Imperial Sire, Yunxiao sect and formidable Heavens Dynasty had always minded their own businesses without interfering with the other. It thus seemed unacceptable that the formidable Heavens Dynasty's Grand Imperial Sire brought so many cultivators and behaved this way at the doorsteps of Yunxiao sect. As he spoke, 10+ wardens and several elders rushed out of Yunxiao sect. Bai Kuei, our Yunxiao sect, and the formidable Heavens Dynasty never had anything to do with each other. What is the meaning of your actions today? An elderly with white hair shouted coldly at Bai Kuei. The person who spoke was Yunxiao sect's great elder, Zhou Tian. He was at the peak of Yin Yang perfected Lord Second Heaven and was considered acquaintances with Bai Kuei. Zhou Tian, I am not here today as the Grand Imperial Sire of formidable Heavens Dynasty. Bai Kuei snickered as he looked at that elderly. After hearing that, the Yunxiao sect great elder frowned deeply as he did not understand what Bai Kuei meant. Regardless of what identity Bai Kuei was assuming to challenge the Yunxiao sect, given Yunxiao sect's foundation, they were not the least afraid even if the entire formidable Heavens Dynasty royals attacked them, much less Bai Kuei. Humph! The Grand Elders of Yuehua sect and Lingyun sect are here at Yunxiao sect as visitors. If you know what's good for you, leave now. Yunxiao sect can treat it as though nothing happened today. The Yunxiao sect great elder looked at Bai Kuei impatiently. Kill. Nonetheless, Bai Kuei did not bother as he raised his right arm and shouted coldly. As Elder Bai Kuei gave his orders, the Yin Yang perfected lords of the Yi family immediately charged towards the Yunxiao sect wardens and elders. Noticing the situation, the talented Yi family disciple smirked. One of the youths at half-step Yin Yang perfected Lord Realm snickered. I've heard that Yunxiao sect is arrogant and conceited, but I never thought that it would be to this extent. Brothers and sisters, let's show Yunxiao sect what disparity is. Kill. In a moment, hundreds of talented disciples flexed their muscles, drew their weapons, and attacked Yunxiao sect. Chapter 1043, Who is Afraid of Who? 3. Noticing the situation, the Yunshao sect Great Elder was stunned and was even in disbelief. Originally, he thought that Bai Kuei would definitely not dare to really take action, yet currently, you have a death wish. The Yunshao sect wardens hollered furiously and slashed their swords at the Yin-Yang perfected lords charging towards them. A warden's eyes were filled with malice and evil as he attacked a branch master of the Yi family. That branch master joined the Yi family not long ago, but he was extremely skilled. His energy and aura were overwhelming and even more powerful than ordinary Yin-Yang perfected lords, which was why Yi Qingtang specially appointed him as a branch master. Boom, boom. In the next second, the Yunshao sect warden's sword landed on the branch master's left shoulder. However, at this instant, the Yunshao sect warden was appalled. When his sword landed on this person, it was as though he was slashing extremely hard metal. The Yi family branch master was unharmed, and the Yunshao sect warden's hand numbed instead. Do you only have this little strength? The Yi family branch master looked at the Yunshao sect warden and immediately stretched his neck. How disappointing. Ew. The Yunshao sect warden was infuriated. However, after sensing the aura of this middle-aged man before him, he was instantly dumbfounded, and his eyes widened. Yin-Yang, perfected lord? This Yunshao sect warden never thought that this plain-looking middle-aged man would actually be a Yin-Yang perfected lord. Die! The Yi family branch master shouted coldly and gently slashed the Yunshao sect warden's neck using his palm as a knife. In an instant, the Yunshao sect warden's skull flew to the sky while his headless body staggered a few steps before falling to the ground. He was breathless in no time and died. Yin-Yang perfected lord. Also a Yin-Yang perfected lord. How can it be? The ordinary elders and wardens of Yunshao sect paled after sensing the aura of the powerful figures of the Yi family. There were several Yin-Yang perfected lords among the cultivators that Bai Kuei brought over. There were only a few Yin-Yang perfected lords in Yunshao sect. Get lost! The Yunshao sect Great Elder yelled angrily and focused power in his fingertip to force a Yin-Yang perfected lord to retreat. The Yunshao sect Great Elder had already reached the peak of Yin-Yang perfected lord second heaven, and it was simply impossible for an ordinary Yin-Yang perfected lord to fight against him. Zhou Tian, let me play with you. Suddenly, Taoist Zijin leaped out and instantly turned into fast shadows that intersected and overlapped each other in the air, so rapidly that one could not distinguish him with the naked eye. Taoist Zijin! The Yunshao sect Great Elder was astonished to see Taoist Zijin. Taoist Zijin was renowned and had a reputation in this mainland. However, why would he and the formidable Heavens Dynasty's Grand Imperial Sire Bai Kuei come here to fight against Yunshao sect? Humph! The Yunshao sect Great Elder sneered as his palm met Taoist Zijin's. Boom! A loud sound erupted as though the sky exploded. The Yunshao sect Great Elder retreated backward as blood seeped out from the corners of his mouth, clearly in the disadvantage from the one-palm confrontation with Taoist Zijin earlier. Chapter 1044 Skill 1. The Great Elder stared at the number of people in Bai Kuei's team and frowned heavily. There were at least 7 Yin-Yang perfected lords, including Bai Kuei and Taoist Zijin. Furthermore, both of their abilities had passed the third heaven of the Yin-Yang perfected lord. Though their force was extremely strong, there were guests from the Baiming Manor in the Yunshao sect today, besides the Grand Elders from the Yuehua sect and the Lingyun sect. If Bai Kuei and Taoist Zijin dared to attack them, they would definitely provoke the Baiming Manor. Yunshao sect belonged to the Baiming Manor. Bai Kuei, Taoist Zijin, the Yunshao sect has nothing to do with you. If you still want to challenge us, we will not hold back anymore. The Great Elder of Yunshao sect stared at the few Yin-Yang perfected lords and shouted coldly. Taoist Zijin scoffed and said, Zhou Tian, what's the point of holding back when it has come to this situation? Furthermore, how will Yunshao sect care for us anyway? The great elder of the Yunshao sect clenched his teeth tightly and wished that he could tear Daoist Zijin's skin. Boom! Suddenly, a few shadows rushed towards the crowds of wardens. Within a few breaths, a few wardens' heads were chopped off by branch masters of the Yi family. The great elder of the Yunshao sect was very strong, but was weaker than Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin. He was about to run when he realized that the situation was not good for him. "Where do you want to go?" Bai Kuei scoffed and followed the great elder immediately. However, a few elders of the Yunshao sect immediately rushed forward to block Bai Kuei's way. "Get lost!" Bai Kuei shouted. Before anyone could realize what was going on, the few elders who were at half-step yin-yang perfected lord level were thrown out by Bai Kuei's aura. The great elder of the Yunshao sect fled into the Yunshao sect at the same time. Bai Kuei exchanged a glance with Daoist Zijin. There were many powerful people in the Yunshao sect. It was too risky for the two of them to break into Yunshao sect unless Yi Qingtang took the lead. However, Yi Qingtang was the strongest force of the Yi family. She could not just attack impulsively without the appearance of the main opponent. When Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin were discussing what they should do next, around 10 people walked out of the Yunshao sect under the great elder's lead. The two elders in white robe were the grand elders of the Yuehua sect and the Lingyun sect. They came to the Yunshao sect as they heard that guests from the Baiming Manor were here. However, the great elder of the Yunshao sect said that there were people here to find trouble with them. There was a middle-aged man in a purple robe standing there with prestige. A golden cloud was sewed on his chest area. The man was the sect master of the Yunshao sect. Bai Kuei, Daoist Zijin, are there any misunderstandings between the Yunshao sect and you? Why would you come here to find trouble with us? The sect master of the Yunshao sect looked at Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin and said indifferently, "There were 7 yin-yang perfected lords in the crowd. You offended someone that you should never even try to provoke. The punishment will be the extermination of the Yunshao sect." Daoist Zijin scoffed and said. Chapter 1045 Skill 2. The sect master shouted in rage. "Bai Kuei, I respect you as the grand imperial sire of the formidable Heavens dynasty. For all these years, Yunshao sect had nothing to do with the formidable Heavens dynasty. You come here for death today." "We come here for death." Bai Kuei stared at the Yunshao sect master and sneered. Who was the one that was going to die? Humph! An elder landed from midair and scoffed heavily. "No one dared to offend us like this since the Yunshao sect was established a few hundred years ago. How dare you say that you want to exterminate my sect today?" The Yunshao sect master nodded towards the elder, who was the grand elder of the Yunshao sect. He was at the peak of the third heaven of yin-yang perfected lord. Li Shihai, a cold glint flashed across Bai Kuei's eyes as he saw the grand elder of the Yunshao sect. When Bai Kuei was the crown prince of the formidable Heavens dynasty, Li Shihai was the sect master of the Yunshao sect. They had no interactions back then. However, around 10 years ago, a beloved lady of Bai Kuei was taken away by Li Shihai using some tricks. Though Bai Kuei and the lady was not married, to him, he resented Li Shihai for taking away his wife. After that, Bai Kuei became the emperor of the formidable Heavens dynasty, and Li Shihai became the sect master of Yunshao sect. After becoming the emperor, Bai Kuei took the responsibility of ruling the entire formidable Heavens dynasty. He could not just take his revenge from Li Shihai. Until today, Humph, I was still thinking who's here. Bai Kuei, based on your ability, what can you do to me? You could not do anything back then when you were the crown prince of formidable Heavens dynasty. Your beloved lady still came to me. I shall tell you here. Indeed, I used some tricks to get her. However, she killed herself not long after I got here. What can you do today, even though you know all this?" The grand elder of the Yunshao sect landed slowly and scoffed as he stared at Bai Kuei. The two grand elders of Yuehua sect and Lingyun sect had odd expressions. Though they were aware that the grand elder of the Yunshao sect was very arrogant, he should not reveal all the inhumane things he did in the past in front of everyone. It was fortunate that there were no disciples present. If not, His reputation. Of course, Li Shihai never cared for his reputation. He only acted according to his own preferences. Li Shihai, you're seeking your own death. Bai Kuei's face was flushed, and veins could be seen on his forehead. Though Bai Kuei was at the age that he could resist all temptations, as a martial cultivator, the hatred he had could last forever. The main culprit who took away his wife dared to reveal everything again. Swoosh! Bai Kuei took out a purple black-gray divine weapon. As he waved his sword, the great aura of an yin-yang perfected lord rushed into the sky as if he was going to tear Li Shihai into pieces. The Grand Elder of Yinshao sect scorned. His body turned into a shadow, and he took out a simplistic sword from his space ring. At the next second, he was next to Bai Kuei. The two shadows were appearing everywhere as they fought against each other. However, Bai Kuei was disadvantaged within 10 attacks. Bai Kuei was at the third heaven of the yin-yang perfected lord. However, the Grand Elder of Yinshao sect was at the peak of third heaven of yin-yang perfected lord. Chapter 1046 Skill 3. It was lucky for Bai Kuei that he was able to last 10 attacks against the Grand Elder. He would be dreaming if he could beat the Grand Elder of Yinshao sect with his own ability. Humph! It seems like you don't even see me with your eyes. Daoist Zijin scoffed when he saw that Bai Kuei was not able to fight against the Grand Elder. He immediately came towards them and joined the fight together with Bai Kuei. Li Shihai, you're such a rotten asshole. Wait for my ruling gourd. Daoist Zijin took out a gourd and threw it into the air. The three of them were sucked in by the ruling gourd immediately. The gourd suddenly grew in size and became transparent. Everything happening inside could be seen clearly from outside. Ha! The ruling gourd was plucked from the ancient ruling tree on Tinka Mountain. It's able to block all martial ability. Rotten asshole, don't dream to use any of your ability inside here. Daoist Zijin scorned. Everyone else was shocked as they heard his words. Such a terrifying Dharma treasure. The Grand Elder's expression changed as he could feel that all his martial ability in his body was disappearing. How come I feel that my martial ability is lost as well? Suddenly, Bai Kuei looked at Daoist Zijin, frowned, and asked, Of course, everyone's martial ability will be lost inside my ruling gourd, Daoist Zijin said. Bai Kuei nodded and asked, How about you? Same. Daoist Zijin explained. Bai Kuei's lips twitched. So what was the point for Daoist Zijin putting all of them inside the ruling gourd? Hee. Then the two of you are pieces of junk as well. The Grand Elder of Yinshao sect laughed coldly. The two of us are good enough to beat you. Daoist Zijin scorned as well. Kill him. Daoist Zijin rushed towards the Grand Elder immediately. In other people's eyes, the two powerful yin-yang perfected lords now fought like gangsters without any martial ability. What are you waiting for? Daoist Zijin looked towards Bai Kuei as he fought against the Grand Elder. Bai Kuei did not hesitate and joined the fight. The two of them kicked and punched the Grand Elder heavily. Based on their third heaven of yin-yang perfected lord's ability, they would not able to beat the Grand Elder even if they combined their forces. The difference between the normal third heaven and the peak was huge. However, inside the gourd that restricted all martial ability, the three of them were just normal people. The consequences were clear when the two of them fought against a useless Grand Elder. Within a short while, the Grand Elder was injured heavily. His face was swollen under Daoist Zijin's and Bai Kuei's punches. The side with more people would, of course, have more advantages than the other side in the ruling gourd. Chapter 1047 Skill 4. Yi Qingtang's lips twitched a little as she witnessed the situation inside the gourd. This might be the most special fight she had seen between yin-yang perfected lords. It was almost impossible to find others who fought like Daoist Zijin and Bai Kuei in the world. They were no different from gangsters. There were no tricks. All their punches landed heavily on the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder cursed in rage inside the gourd as he wished to tear them into pieces. However, he could not defend himself at all. Occasionally, he managed to kick Daoist Zijin, but the kicks seemed to have no effect. Buzz! Around half an hour later, a weird sound came out of the ruling gourd. The three of them were thrown out by the gourd as it returned to its original size. What happened? Bai Kuei asked. There is a time limitation to the ruling gourd. Apparently time's up. What a pity that we didn't manage to beat him to death, Daoist Sijin said. Though the Grand Elder was a piece of junk inside the ruling gourd, it was easy for the two of them to fight against him, but it was hard to kill him. The Grand Elder's injuries were all recovered without any traces after leaving the ruling gourd. As his martial ability was regained, the injuries from the punches would definitely be gone. It seems you have a death wish. After regaining his martial ability, the Grand Elder stared at Bai Kuei and Daoist Sijin. As he shouted, the aura of the peak level of Yin Yang perfected Lord Third Heaven exploded and surrounded the two of them. The Grand Elder turned into a shadow in the next second. He was so fast that he landed beside Bai Kuei and Daoist Sijin within a split second. The three of them were engaged in the fight again. However, within a few breaths, Daoist Sijin and Bai Kuei were thrown out. Hee, how much hatred do you have towards me, Bai Kuei? I made you feel the greatest humiliation as a man. However, you cannot do anything to me. So heartbreaking. The Grand Elder scorned as he stared at Bai Kuei. A cold glint flashed across King Tang's eyes at that. She wished that Bai Kuei could settle this thing by himself previously. However, based on the current situation, Bai Kuei was not able to fight against the Grand Elder. Really? Qing Tang scorned. Qing Tang lifted her right arm slightly. Without realizing what was happening, the Grand Elder lost control of his body under a strong and irresistible force. The sect master of Yinxiao's sect was enraged. He did not feel the intense force from Qing Tang. He thought that it was just a junior brought by Bai Kuei. How dare you to speak up as a junior? You're seeking your own death. Before the Grand Elder was pulled to Qing Tang, the Yinxiao sect master flew and smashed his palm towards her. How dare you? A few branch masters immediately surrounded Qing Tang and fought off the Yinxiao sect master. The two Grand Elders of Yuehua sect and Lingyun sect frowned heavily as they witnessed the scene. Chapter 1048 Skill 5. The two of them rushed forward and forced the branch masters to step back with their strong martial aura. The Grand Elder of Yuehua sect sneered. Young people, do you know what respect is? If you apologize to the Yinxiao sect and leave now, maybe we can spare your lives, the Grand Elder of Lingyun sect said. Grand Elders, you have nothing to do with what's going on here. Or do you want to be involved as well? Qing Tang stepped out to face the two Grand Elders. The two Grand Elders were shocked by the young lattice words. This young lady seems familiar. Have I seen her somewhere else? The Grand Elder of Yuehua sect looked at Qing Tang in surprise. Is she the disciple of Xianling's sect? The one who was so lucky to get the infant fiend celestial beast at the 100-level peril hell of Avicenaraka. The Grand Elder of Lingyun's sect sized up Qing Tang, and his eyes were filled with joy. They had seen drawings of Qing Tang before. The young lady in front of them must be the Xianling's sect disciple Qing Tang, and she had an infant fiend celestial beast. Ha ha! I did not expect to be so lucky today to be at the Yunxiao sect. The Grand Elder of Lingyun sect laughed. You must get the infant fiend celestial beast today. Young one, hand over the infant fiend celestial beast, and it'll spare your life. The Grand Elder of Yuehua sect stared at Qing Tang and tried to threaten her. Are you even qualified to get the fiend celestial beast? Qing Tang scanned through the two Grand Elders coldly. The two Grand Elders were enraged upon hearing her words. They did not expect that the young one would be so rude and arrogant that she was not even afraid of her own death. However, at the next second, their pupils constricted. The aura of a young lord rushed into the sky. It seemed that an ancient god-fiend arrived and surrounded everything in darkness, forcing everyone to kneel down in fear. The two Grand Elders felt that their bodies were about to be ripped apart by the terrifying aura of a young lord. They did not even question that they would be killed without any traces left as long as the person in front of them wished to. Young lord. How is this even possible? The Grand Elder of Lingyun's sect's face was pale as he stared at Yi Qingtang, who appeared to be a giant god-fiend. His body was soaked with cold sweat. Young Lord. Only when one reached the seventh heaven of Yang perfected Lord could a person then be called a Yang Lord. However, the person in front of them was at the peak of seventh heaven of Yang perfected Lord. She was just a little step away from entering the eighth heaven. Only at this moment did the Grand Elder of Yuehua sect understand that the person was not a disciple of Xianling sect. He found it weird how a disciple could survive in the 100-level peril hell of Avicenaraka and get a fiend celestial beast. It was even more unbelievable that she was able to leave the hell of Avicenaraka with the fiend celestial beast. Everything could be explained if the person was a Yang Lord. Chapter 1049 Skill 6. Moreover, how could a dignified fiend celestial beast fancy an ordinary sect disciple? The lady before them was none other than a genuine, unrivaled Yang Lord. Damn it! Which dimwit released false information that the person who obtained the infant fiend celestial beast was an ordinary Xianling sect disciple. The Lingyun sect Grand Elder gritted his teeth. At this instant, the Yuehua sect master shuddered as he looked at the Yi family war flags, which were held high by the talented youths. It was at this moment when he finally understood what the Yi surname on the war flag represented. The name of this young lord was probably Yi Qingtang, and the Yi war flag probably represented the family clan of this young lord. No wonder formidable heavens dynasty's grand imperial sire by Kuei and that veteran Yang perfected lord proclaimed to be a member of the Yi family. For a daunting family clan with a powerful figure at the peak of Yang perfected Lord's seventh heaven, it was by Kuei's and Dao Zijin's honor to join the family clan. Say, Senior, I was unaware of your arrival. Please pardon me and not be hard on me. The Yuehua sect Grand Elder stared at Yi Qingtang in horror. He was facing an authentic Yang Lord. I remember that you wanted me to hand over the fiend celestial beast. Yi Qingtang stared at the Yuehua sect Grand Elder and said coldly. Upon hearing that, the Yuehua sect Grand Elder shuddered and instinctively shook his head without thinking. No. Senior, I did not say that. It's him. He said it. The Yuehua sect Grand Elder immediately pointed at the Lingyun sect Grand Elder. Don't spout nonsense. When did I ask Senior to hand over the fiend celestial beast? I don't even know what a fiend celestial beast is. What I need it for? It must be you. You offended the Senior and want to shift the blame to me now. Lingyun sect Grand Elder denied anxiously. Any humph. It's clearly you who asked the Senior for the fiend celestial beast. Why don't you dare to admit it? Even saying that you don't know what a fiend celestial beast is. I think you're the one who is spouting nonsense. Yuehua sect Grand Elder sneered. The hundreds of talented Yi family disciples behind Yi Qingtang snickered as they watched the two Grand Elders of super sects blame each other. This was the so-called powerful Grand Elder of a super sect. Before absolute strength, they were just like clowns. If their super sect's disciples were present and saw their own Grand Elder behaving this way, how would they think? Would they feel the slightest disgrace? Previously, when Yi Qingtang appeared, the Yunshao sect master, Great Elder, and even Grand Elder were delighted. However, after knowing that Yi Qingtang was an unrivaled young lord, they were completely dumbfounded. Didn't the two of you want to protect Yunshao sect? A Yi family branch master looked at the two Grand Elders and scoffed. Yunshao sect. Lingyun sect Grand Elder shook his head repeatedly. Senior Yi, this is a misunderstanding. A great misunderstanding. We are actually not that close with Yunshao sect. We just happened to pass by here today and came in to take a seat. Senior, we have nothing to do with your enmity with Yunshao sect. Right. Senior Yi, we have nothing to do with Yunshao sect. This Yunshao sect is really audacious. How dare they offend you, Senior? They deserve to die. Definitely deserve to die. Senior, if you need us to do anything, just tell us. Yuehua sect Grand Elder added hurriedly. Chapter 1050 Biming Manor 1. Neither the Yuehua sect Grand Elder nor Lingyun sect Grand Elder dared to be impetuous when they learned that Yi Qingtang was a Yang Lord. Never would they have thought that Yinshao sect actually offended a Yang Lord. If it was by Kuei or Dao Sijin, the Grand Elders could still stand on Yinshao sect's side. However, it was impossible for them to go against a Yang Lord if they wanted to live a longer life. The two super sects Grand Elders stood before Yi Qingtang in silence, deeply afraid that she would execute them when displeased. Yi Qingtang swept a look at the two of them and subsequently said, "Get lost." After hearing Yi Qingtang, the Lingyun sect Grand Elder nodded his head repeatedly and disappeared without a trace. "Farewell, Senior. Farewell, Essie. If there's anything that you need my Yuehua sect for in the future, you may just inform us." The Yuehua sect Grand Elder disappeared immediately after saying that. Yi Qingtang did not have any enmity with Lingyun sect and Yuehua sect and did not wish to start another war. Thus, letting these two Grand Elders leave was sufficient. At this instant, the Yinshao sect masses were dumbfounded and even had goosebumps as they looked at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang's martial skills were too frightening. On this mainland, a Yang Lord was almost unparalleled, and even a super sect was nothing to a Yang Lord. Yinshao sect's sect master and Grand Elder stared at Yi Qingtang in astonishment. They would have never thought that Yi Qingtang was actually a Yang Lord. "Come here." Then, Yi Qingtang raised her right arm, and a powerful force swept over. In at most 2 breaths' time, Yi Qingtang had already clutched onto the Yinshao sect Grand Elder's throat. "You seemed to be very arrogant earlier on," Yi Qingtang said coldly as she glared at the Yinshao sect Grand Elder. The Yinshao sect Grand Elder shuddered, and his face paled after hearing Yi Qingtang's words. He did not know what he should say, and everything that happened seemed to be an unbelievable dream. 1 hour ago, they were still chatting with the Biming Manor envoy within the sect, but a short while later, a Yang Lord came searching for them. "Yi Qingtang, even if you are a Yang Lord, our Yinshao sect is affiliated to Biming Manor. However powerful you are, do you dare to ignore the Biming Manor?" Yinshao sect Grand Elder looked at Yi Qingtang and shouted, "Biming Manor." The Yi family members were in thought upon hearing that. Biming Manor was one of the extraordinary forces of this mainland, and was on par with the Phantom Valley and Peerless School. They were known as the 3 mightiest sect forces. It was said that the Biming Manor chief was a Yang Lord of Yin Yang perfected Lord 8th Heaven, and his martial skills were unrivaled. Yi Qingtang did not have any thoughts about Biming Manor, as she did not have any grudges against them. It would be best if they did not interfere with this matter, but if they insisted, Yi Qingtang would definitely not do nothing. Seeing that Yi Qingtang was silent, Yinshao sect's sect master thought that Yi Qingtang was afraid of Biming Manor, and he sneered. "So what if you were a Yang Lord? There are countless powerful figures in Biming Manor, and the Manor Chief is an 8th Heaven Yang Lord. If you dare to touch my Yinshao sect today, it is equivalent to opposing Biming Manor." Chapter 1051 Biming Manor 2. Yi Qingtang looked at the Yinshao sect's sect master rather impatiently. Without saying much, Yang Lord aura surged out, and the Yinshao sect's sect master's body exploded into innumerable pieces of flesh before everyone's eyes. The Yinshao sect master's skills were not as powerful as that of the Yinshao sect Grand Elder. Thus, he was unable to withstand Yi Qingtang's aura suppression. Witnessing the tragic death of the Yinshao sect's sect master, the Yinshao sect masses paled and gasped. Without giving them time to return to their senses, Yi Qingtang moved her wrist and twisted the Yinshao sect Grand Elder's neck. In no time, Yinshao sect's sect master and Grand Elder were both killed by Yi Qingtang. "Run!" The Yinshao sect Great Elder shouted at the top of his lungs when he noticed that the situation was bad and immediately fled towards the interior of Yinshao sect. Yinshao sect's foundation was extremely powerful, and as long as they could flee back in Yinshao sect, it was difficult to annihilate Yinshao sect even if Yi Qingtang was a Yang Lord. If Yinshao sect's sect master and Grand Elder knew that Yi Qingtang was a young lord, they would definitely not step out of Yin Xiao's sect. "Where are you all running to?" Yi Qingtang shouted coldly, and her young lord aura swept across the entire place, killing the Yin Xiao sect Great Elder instantly. As the Yin Xiao sect Great Elder was also killed by Yi Qingtang, Yin Xiao sect became completely disunited, and the remaining elders and wardens remained rooted to the ground, shivering, without daring to move an inch. As long as Yi Qingtang was willing, all of them would be killed by her before they could even make it back into Yin Xiao sect. If Yin Xiao sect Grand Elder and Sect Master countered this battle within the sect, they definitely would not have died so quickly given Yin Xiao sect's foundation. Seeing that Yin Xiao sect Grand Elder died from the impact of Yi Qingtang's young lord aura, Elder Bai Kuei finally felt that he had finally avenged his wife. It was just a pity that he was not the one who personally killed the Yin Xiao sect Grand Elder. From now on, Yin Xiao sect no longer exists and will be annexed by the Yi family. Anyone who resists will be killed. If sect disciples wish to leave, don't stop them, Taoist Zijin announced loudly a moment later. Whether it was a war between sects or family clans, the defeated party must pay a terrible price, and even a foundation that had been passed down for thousands of years would belong to the victor. Currently, Yin Xiao sect Grand Elder, Sect Master, and Great Elder were all dead, and Yin Xiao sect had no leader. It was impossible for them to battle with the Yi family, which had a young lord. From then on, Yin Xiao sect would belong to the Yi family. Yes, the several branch masters and talented disciples immediately responded. At this instant, the Grand Elders of Yuehua sect and Lingyun sect had not left and were hiding above the clouds to observe the situation. However, when they saw the Yin Xiao sect Grand Elder and Sect Master being slain by that young lord in an instant, their backs were drenched with cold sweat. It was fortunate that they made the right judgment, or else their outcome would be no different from Yin Xiao sect. The envoy from Biming Manor is still within Yin Xiao sect. Yin Xiao sect is an affiliate of Biming Manor. I'm afraid the Biming Manor will not leave this matter alone. The Yuehua sect Grand Elder looked at the Lingyun sect Grand Elder beside him. The Yi family only has one young lord. How can it contend against Biming Manor, which is one of the three mighty forces of this mainland? There will be a good show to watch now. The Lingyun Grand Elder nodded. Chapter 1052, Biming Manor. 3. Yin Xiao sect annihilation was a given, but no one had expected it to be annihilated so quickly. A dignified super sect with centuries of foundation, however, became part of the Yi family in such a short period of time. At this instant, the Yi family disciples and several branch masters were covered with murderous auras. This was their first battle since becoming part of the Yi family. This war was truly too shocking. Yin Xiao sect was wiped out so swiftly that they did not even make any moves. It was also because of such that the Yi family members finally witnessed the unparalleled powers of a young lord. Even if Yin Xiao sect was a super sect and had powerful foundations, it still ended up in such an ending. Anyone who wishes to resist the Yi family, come out. At this instant, a Yi family disciple swept across the remaining elders and wardens in Yin Xiao sect and shouted coldly. However, no one dared to say anything. Humph. So what about your Yi family? You all will still face death after offending Biming Manor. A Yin Xiao sect disciple who appeared from nowhere said coldly, "You have a death wish." Upon hearing that, a glint flashed across the eyes of that Yi family youth at the half-step Yin-Yang perfected Lord Realm. With a clank, that Yin Xiao sect disciple's head was already chopped off by the Yi family disciple before the Yin Xiao sect disciple knew what happened. Clank! He unsheathed and sheathed his sword in one breath, and that was all it took to kill someone. Any resistors, kill. The Yi family youth shouted loudly, and he was brimming with killing intent. Little young one, how arrogant of you. All of a sudden, a bone-curdling cold filled the air, and the temperature of the surroundings dropped to the freezing point in an instant. A middle-aged man in a gold Chinese robe walked out of Yunshao sect slowly with a young male and female beside him. That man's martial skills were frightening and had already reached the peak of Yin-Yang perfected Lord Fourth Heaven. Biming Manor Envoy. In the sky, the Weihua sect Grand Elders and Lingyun sect Grand Elders' eyes twinkled when they saw the appearance of that middle-aged man. It seemed that Yunshao sect's annihilation enraged Biming Manor utterly. Beneath, the Yi family talented disciple shivered at that cold shout, and his body retreated backward. The Yi family talented youth was merely a half-step Yin-Yang perfected lord, and naturally could not contest against the Biming Manor envoy, who was at the peak of Yin-Yang perfected Lord Fourth Heaven. "You're pretty arrogant yourself, too." Yi Qingtang hollered immediately and easily dissipated the powerful martial aura of that Biming Manor envoy. It was only until then did the Yi family youth's complexion improve, and he looked at Yi Qingtang with gratitude. "A young lord is here. Hurry, bow, and pay your respects to the young lord." A Yi family branch master looked at the Biming Manor envoy without fear and sneered. The Biming Manor envoy frowned slightly upon hearing that. "She's actually a young lord. How dare you?" The Biming Manor envoy yelled in fury. "I am Biming Manor's Great Warden. How dare you make me bow and pay my respects?" The Biming Manor Great Warden was the head of all wardens. Although his position was lower than that of elders and the chief, he was also considered to have a high position and authority, and he represented Biming Manor with full authority when he was out. How dare this force make him bow and pay respects? Chapter 1053, Biming Manor 4. This so-called Yi family was a disorderly mob. Could it be that it had never heard of the three mighty forces of this mainland? Everyone still had a certain level of fear towards the Biming Manor. Thus, the Yi family branch master remained silent. After all, Yi family only had one young lord, while Biming Manor had more than one. Seeing that the Yi family branch master no longer spoke, the Biming Manor envoy nodded in satisfaction. Nonetheless, he was still curious as to why a young lord, who even seemed so young, appeared out of nowhere when there was only a handful of young lords on this mainland. "You are the young lord of the Yi family." The Biming Manor envoy looked at Yi Qingtang and said, "Yes, so what if I am?" Yi Qingtang replied indifferently. She did not have any enmity with Biming Manor and did not wish to complicate matters by having any relations with Biming Manor. However, if Biming Manor failed to appreciate her favor and insisted on poking their nose into this matter, it was fine with Yi Qingtang as well. Yi Qingtang had never liked causing trouble, but this did not mean that she was afraid of trouble. Good, not bad. It is indeed unbelievable that you can become a young lord at such a young age. My Biming Manor admires you greatly. If you're willing, you can join my Biming Manor, and you can freely choose any position that you want. The Biming Manor envoy looked at Yi Qingtang and said, in other territories, the Biming Manor envoy represented the entire Biming Manor, and everything he said was equivalent to what the Biming Manor chief said. Thus, since he said that, it was definitely effective. The three mighty forces of this mainland would all wish to snatch this young lord. Regardless of the Phantom Valley, Peerless School, or Biming Manor, their control and power would become even more powerful if they had an additional young lord. "Oh," Yi Qingtang looked at the Biming Manor envoy and said with a seeming smile, "Do you mean what you say?" "Of course I do." Arrogance filled the Biming Manor envoy's face. "I am a Biming Manor envoy, and everything I say represents the Biming Manor. As long as you are willing to join and dedicate yourself to my Biming Manor, you can pick any position you want in Biming Manor." "All right," Yi Qingtang said. "If that's the case, I want the Biming Manor chief position. Do you think it's possible?" Everyone at the scene was stunned by Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang actually wanted to become the Biming Manor chief. "What are you saying?" The Biming Manor envoy's eyes were ice cold. This girl was so young yet so arrogant and conceited to want the Biming Manor chief position. Although Yi Qingtang was not familiar with the three mighty forces of this mainland, she was very clear with their routine. Phantom Valley, Biming Manor, and Peerless School were currently in a state of check and balance, and no one wished to break this balance. However, if Yi Qingtang chose to join one side, this balance would definitely be broken. Even if Yi Qingtang joined Biming Manor, it would definitely not believe an outsider, especially when this outsider was a young lord. Once this young lord had any ideas, it was very possible that it would result in a serious imbalance. Moreover, Phantom Valley and Peerless School would face a relatively serious threat with Yi Qingtang's addition to Biming Manor. By then, Peerless School and Phantom Valley would definitely join forces to annihilate Biming Manor. Chapter 1054. Kill one of my people, and I will slay your entire family as one of the top 3 forces of this mainland. Biming Manor definitely understood this logic. Although Yi Qingtang had become a young lord currently, she knew her limitations, something she was never lacking in, no matter whether she was a holy venerate in the past life or currently. The 3 mighty forces of this mainland were not short of young lords, and instead had very powerful young lords. Given her current skills, it was extremely difficult if she wished to fight any of these 3 forces head-on. Nonetheless, since Yi Qingtang became a young lord, these top 3 forces would definitely do something once Yi Qingtang joined one force. The other 2 forces would join hands and annihilate the force that Yi Qingtang joined. This was so in addition to the fact that the force that Yi Qingtang joined would be on their guard against her and secretly kill her in order to maintain the balance. However, if Yi Qingtang did not join any of the forces would be suspicious and paranoid that Yi Qingtang had already secretly made arrangements with the other 2 forces. As the skills of the top 3 forces were overly balanced, they definitely did not wish to see another young lord, even if she did not join any forces and developed her own influence. Since that was the case, there was only one solution. Yi Qingtang would become enemies with one top force while the other 2 forces watch from aside and reap the spoils. Especially for Biming Manor, a young lord's appearance in Formidable Heaven's dynasty would attract the suspicions of Peerless School and Phantom Valley. It was either that Yi Qingtang joins Biming Manor and the Manor Chief decides whether to utilize or secretly kill her, or that Biming Manor directly kills Yi Qingtang to let Peerless School and Phantom Valley know that they did not have any intention to break the balance of the 3 great forces. There were no other options apart from these. Humph! Biming Manor's will is not something you can revolt against. The Biming Manor envoy glared at Yi Qingtang coldly. Upon hearing that, Yi Qingtang's lips curled up into a sneer. If I have never even acknowledged the Biming Manor chief, what are you? Bai Kuei and Daoist Zijin cast a cold eye at that Biming Manor envoy. If he was not representing Biming Manor to talk to Yi Qingtang, he would already be a dead man by now. Great. Indeed a young lord. How arrogant. The Biming Manor envoy raised his volume and said coldly, My Biming Manor has a 1,000-year foundation on this mainland, and you're the first who dares to defy Biming Manor's will. Since that's the case, Biming Manor will officially start a war with your Yi family. Although you are a young lord, not all of your family clan has skills like yours, the Biming Manor envoy scoffed. His meaning was clear. If Yi Qingtang fled, perhaps they could not do anything, but the Yi family had many people, and Biming Manor could kill however many they wished. Nevertheless, Yi Qingtang replied coldly, You're right, but out of your tens of thousands of Biming Manor people, is everyone a young lord? With that, the Biming Manor envoy's smile was suddenly frozen. Yi Qingtang's meaning was extremely clear as well. If the Biming Manor dared to touch the Yi family members, she would kill a group of Biming Manor people. Biming Manor has been in existence for 1,000 years, and it should have a minimum of tens of thousands of people. For every 100 Yi family members that Biming Manor kills, I will slay 10,000 Biming Manor people. I want to see if your Biming Manor dares to touch anyone from my Yi family. From today onward, as long as a Yi family disciple dies, I will place the responsibility on your Biming Manor. If one Yi family disciple dies, I will kill thousands of your Biming Manor people. Yi Qingtang shouted. Chapter 1055 Three Orders to Kill. When they heard Yi Qingtang's words, the looks of fear on the faces of Yi family members instantly vanished, never to be seen again. Only excitement and agitation remained. Just as Yi Qingtang said, if the Yi family was massacred, then Yi Qingtang would fight the Biming Manor to the death. How terrifying would it be to have a powerful young lord lying in ambush? Also, could the few powerful young lords of Biming Manor really guard tens of thousands of people every day without leaving their side? By then, the Biming Manor would be unable to find Yi Qingtang, who would be lying in wait. But Yi Qingtang would be clearly aware of the Biming Manor's position. Even if the young lords found Yi Qingtang, they might not be able to kill her with one stroke, causing Yi Qingtang's vengeance to be even crueler and terrifying. Then, the tens of thousands of people in Biming Manor would live in fear, and those who had not yet become young lords would live in the shadow of death. The Yi family had a few hundred people, but the Biming Manor had tens of thousands of people. However, the Biming Manor master and young lords were not idiots. They did not dare touch a single hair on a Yi family disciple's head without first killing Yi Qingtang. At that moment, the Biming Manor envoy gritted his teeth. If Yi Qingtang kept her word, tens of thousands of people from the Biming Manor would die because they killed 100 people from the Yi family. Right now, there are over 100 Yi family disciples. I guarantee I will not act. Let me see if you dare to touch a single person. Yi Qingtang fixed her gaze on the Biming Manor envoy and spoke with a cold laugh. You dare to touch me. At that moment, Elder Bai Kuei's grandson, Yi Lung, who had changed his surname to Yi, stepped forward and pointed to the Biming Manor envoy. Would their Yi family be afraid of the Biming Manor? It was worthwhile to exchange one person's life for a few thousand lives. Yi family, you will pay an unimaginably terrible price for your arrogance. Vane stood up on the Biming Manor envoy's forehead. He did not dare to touch so much as a hair on a Yi family disciple's head. If this young lord really went crazy, the consequences would be unimaginable. The top three sects were very familiar with the young lords in this mainland. But what kind of personality did Yi Qingtang have? And would she actually do as she said? Who could be certain? When she saw that the Biming Manor envoy was about to leave, Yi Qingtang stepped forward and blocked his way. The powerful force of a young lord immediately shot skywards. What are you doing? The Biming Manor envoy was shocked when he saw what was happening. You've offended me. Shouldn't you leave something behind? Yi Qingtang stared at the Biming Manor envoy and said coldly, when two major forces are in a battle, we are equivalent to envoys of war. How dare you ignore the rules and kill a war envoy? The Biming Manor envoy said in shock. Of course I want. Yi Qingtang's lips curved upward slightly. Then, she used the force of a young lord to press down on the Biming Manor envoy. Puff! The Biming Manor envoy's face was ashen. Blood shot out of his mouth as he repeatedly retreated. You dare harm my martial arts foundation. The Biming Manor envoy stared at Yi Qingtang in shock. This young lord was completely disregarding the rules. I'm giving you a small punishment today. If you dare to be disrespectful to my Yi family in the future, your life will not be spared. Yi Qingtang shouted coldly. In the future, anyone who harms my Yi family disciples will be killed. In the future, anyone who impedes my Yi family affairs will be killed. In the future, anyone who harms my Yi family elders will be killed. Yi Qingtang's voice was bone-chilling. From that day onward, these three killing orders would reverberate through this mainland. Chapter 1056 Three Orders to Kill 2. The moment Yi Qingtang issued her three killing orders, everyone in the Yi family became very emotional and felt uplifted. If anyone dared to offend a Yi family member, be it a disciple or an elder, the Yi family young lord would strike them dead with the swiftness of lightning. In all of history, this must be the family clan young lord that shielded her subordinates the most. The Biming envoy glared at Yi Qingtang in rage, but did not dare to say anything more. This Yi family young lord did not abide by the rules at all, and had even seriously injured him even though he was a war envoy. If he said anything more, he might lose his life. Yi Qingtang, wait and see. Circumstances will change. We will meet again. The Biming Manor envoy glared at Yi Qingtang, a cold light flickering in his eye. He fervently wished he could dismember Yi Qingtang to relieve the hatred in his heart. To the Biming Manor envoy, this Yi family was a new power, and although it had a young lord that was almost invincible in this mainland, she was still too young. These people probably did not know how terrifying the Biming Manor was. Get lost. Elder Bai Kuei looked at the Biming Manor envoy and shouted at him coldly. If the Biming Manor had not been present as an envoy, he would have died many times over today. How dare a mere lord be so arrogant and unrestrained in the presence of a young lord? Without further ado, the Biming Manor envoy turned to leave and vanished in a moment. Both the grand elders of the Lingyun sect and the Weihua sect, who were watching from above, could not help but exchange glances when they saw this scene. The Yi family young lord was truly impossibly arrogant. She did not even show any respect for the Biming Manor. Fortunately, they were both wise men who knew how to bide their time. Otherwise, their fates would probably have been the same as the grand elder of the Yunshao sect, with their heads sent rolling. The two super sect elders did not dare to linger in the area, and they swiftly vanished into the void. At that moment in the Yi family, Bai Kuei and Dao Zijin led the group from the Yi family and charged into the Yunshao sect. The thousands of disciples in the Yunshao sect were all struck dumb. No one dared to resist at all. Everything was like a dream. Before today, the Yunshao sect was carrying on with its usual routine. However, within the short span of an hour, the Grand Elder and the Master of the Yunshao sect had both been killed. Even the Yunshao sect's Great Elder had died. None of the senior members of the sect dared to resist. They all wished to preserve their lives. As the saying went, even lowly insects cling to life, much less the Yunshao sect's wardens and elders. A powerful young lord was invincible. Forcibly resisting was the same as giving up one's life. However, as long as they did not resist, the Yi family would not act. They would give the Yunshao sect, which now completely lacked cohesion, a chance to survive. Yi Qingtang immediately ordered all the wardens and elders of the Yunshao sect to be expelled from the sect. This included the administrative personnel and all the Yunshao sect disciples. Not a single person was to remain. Within the short span of half a day, the glory of the Yunshao sect was completely dissipated and became a thing of the past. Everyone from a Yi family entered the Yunshao sect, which became the headquarters of the Yi family. The Yunshao sect contained countless jewels and fine gems. There were some that even Yi Qingtang felt were fairly unusual. It went without saying that the Yunshao sect had a great legacy. After all, it had existed for hundreds of years and was far beyond what the Xianling sect could compare to. Chapter 1057 3 Orders to Kill 3. If the previous Grand Elder and Master of the Yunshao sect had remained in the sect and resisted to the end, with their rich legacy, even Yi Qingtang would take some time to completely eradicate the Yunshao sect. She certainly would not have been able to uproot it so easily. Eldest young lady, I must say that the Yunshao sect legacy is pretty good. They've put so much effort into managing it for hundreds of years, only for it to fall to our Yi family. Elder Bai Kuei laughed loudly. Yi Qingtang did not have much to say about that. A fight between two major forces was always like that. Once a battle began, the loser would always become fodder for the victor. Yi Qingtang quickly followed the Yi family branch masters and arrived in the area where the Yunshao sect reared its spirit animals. Dozens of spirit animals were separately reared in their individual areas. Their environment was almost like a paradise, extremely beautiful. Besides the rarer flying spirit animals, there were also fighting spirit animals and mounts. The Yunshao sect even reared many young demonic beasts. A super sect almost always gained its status from the efforts of its forebears. The rich legacy the sect had built up for hundreds of years was hard to imagine. Today, An ordinary sect would be hard-pressed to even provide fodder for these spirit animals and demonic beasts. However, to a super sect, it was nothing out of the ordinary and was not a burden. Yi Qingtang and the others very quickly came to the martial skills area. The Yunxiao sect's martial skills area was not bad, but it was inferior to the one that Yi Qingtang had previously established in the Yi house. Not long after, Elder Bai Kuei, Dao Isijin, Yi Qingtang, and the others came upon the treasure pavilion. "Greetings, young lord." A white-haired old man looked at Yi Qingtang, his face filled with respect. He kneeled and greeted them. This man was the guardian of the Yunxiao sect's treasure pavilion and was very familiar with the treasures there. He sincerely begged Elder Bai Kuei and the others to allow him to remain, and he expressed his hope of serving the Yi family. Elder Bai Kuei allowed the old man to remain after receiving Yi Qingtang's approval. The old man was not part of the Yunxiao sect's fighting force. His martial skills were ordinary, and he was only a part of the support personnel. The Yi family had retained many support personnel like him instead of expelling them from his sect. "No need to be so formal," said Yi Qingtang to the old man. The old man quickly stood up, looked at Yi Qingtang, and smiled. "Young lord, please come this way." Yi Qingtang followed the old man into the treasure pavilion. The treasure pavilion in the Yunxiao sect was divided into several large areas: the spirit weapons area, the Dharma treasures area, the talisman area, the traps area, the elixirs area, and so on. At that moment, Yi Qingtang and the others entered the spirit weapons area. In the center of it were rows of spirit weapons, and every one of them was of fairly high level. "Young lord, this cold earth sword is a medial black raid spirit weapon. It belonged to the ancient Zhou kingdom's third emperor 300 years ago." The old man explained to Yi Qingtang and the others. Yi Qingtang nodded when she heard that. The old man knew every Dharma treasure like the back of his hand. They learned from the old man that the Yunxiao sect's treasure pavilion was not open to ordinary disciples of the sect, but only to those of warden level or above, who had made a major contribution to the sect. In the future, the treasure pavilion will be open to everyone in the Yi family, Yi Qingtang said to Elder Bai Kuei and the others. When they heard that, Bai Kuei and the Daoist Yijin nodded repeatedly. Chapter 1058 Trader 1. The senior members of the Yi family may pick any treasure from the treasure pavilion, with no conditions attached. If they are unsure of what to select, they can follow old Zhou's recommendations. Yi Qingtang looked at the old man. "Young lord, please don't worry. I'm very good with these matters," the old man said repeatedly. When they heard Yi Qingtang's words, the Yi family branch masters and two elders looked rather emotional. The Yunxiao sect treasures were extremely attractive to them. After they left the treasure pavilion, Yi Qingtang's gaze swept across the air. Her lips immediately curved upwards and arched in a mysterious smile. Here was a fish that had escaped the net. Eldest young lady, Dao Sijin, was rather perplexed when he saw Yi Qingtang's odd expression. "Come out!" Yi Qingtang shouted coldly as her right arm reached into the void and grasped at something as everyone stared. An old man in a black robe was dragged out of the void. "Who are you?" Elder Bai Kuei immediately shouted sternly. They had been completely unaware of this old man, who was hiding in the void. "Elder Chu, how are you?" Yi Qingtang smiled coldly as she fixed her gaze on the old man, who was frowning deeply. Elder Chu was a Blood Moon sect elder, but after the sect was exterminated, he moved to the Yunxiao sect and taught the Yunxiao sect disciples the evil skill of robbing others of their spirit roots. When Yi Qingtang had been in the Yunxiao sect, she had followed her teacher, Elder Mo, and the others to the Drifting Cloud Island and coincidentally met Elder Chu in Yiyu. She had learned of Elder Chu's status from the Blood Moon sect elder. "Young lord," Elder Chu stared at Yi Qingtang. This girl was so young, but was already a young lord. 1,000 years ago, Elder Chu had also been a young lord. But unfortunately, 1,000 years later, his level of attainment had dropped too rapidly, and now he was only an ordinary lord. "I am willing to serve you faithfully," Elder Chu said to Yi Qingtang. Elder Chu firmly believed that, given his value, this young lord would certainly give him an important position. However, Yi Qingtang just laughed coldly. I don't need your faithful service, but you may leave your life here. Elder Chu laughed when he heard Yi Qingtang's words. Young lord, I know the robbing spirit root's skill. With me around, I can guarantee that the young lord's family will be elevated to the next level. When they heard that, all Yi family members present were taken aback and even somewhat skeptical. Robbing spirit root's skill, legend has it that one can indeed rob cultivators of their spirit roots and use them for oneself. Daoist Zijin was shocked. This secret skill had long been lost in this mainland. Elder Bai Kuei shouted angrily. Who would have thought that the Yunxiao sect would be so despicable as to do such evil things? The robbing spirit root's skill is equivalent to robbing others of their martial skills. It is a great crime. Elder Bai Kuei's fiancée had been snatched away by the Grand Elder of the Yunxiao sect, so he had a deep hatred of stealing, even if it was in terms of martial skills. The skill of robbing spirit roots was somewhat similar to Yi Qingtang's heavenly demon devouring bloodline. However, when compared to the heavenly demon devouring bloodline, the robbing spirit root skill was inferior. The robbing spirit root skill could be used to devour the spirit root of others. However, the heavenly demon devouring skill could devour anything in the world, from the spirit energy of a stone to the martial skills and bloodline of a person. Robbing spirit root skill. Dao Zijin thought for a moment and then suddenly frowned. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.